Hi, I'm Stephanie Swanberg, Government and Regional Affairs Director for the Tri-City Regional Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to Session Spotlight. This short, business-focused weekly update spotlights legislative happenings in Olympia that are relevant to the Tri-Cities business community. It's week 9 of the 2021 Washington State legislative session, and we now have reached the halfway point. Tomorrow is the policy consideration cutoff for bills originating in the House and Senate. The last 2 weeks have been full of debates and votes, and many significant bills have passed, but they aren't law until they've been signed by Governor Inslee. So let's take a look. 7 bills have so far been passed out of both legislative bodies and signed into law. They are all COVID-related and include relief of some kind. Tax exemptions and fee reductions or waivers, leniency in high school graduation requirements, and help for Medicaid and long-term care programs. To learn more, go to governor.wa.gov. On Saturday, the U.S. Senate passed the American Rescue Plan, the latest coronavirus relief package. The $1.9 trillion package passed by a 50-49 party line vote after a marathon overnight voting session. The bill includes $1,400 checks for many Americans and directs billions of dollars to schools, state and local governments, and businesses. It now heads back to the U.S. House for a separate vote. The American Rescue Plan should be an important consideration for the Washington State Legislature and should inform all debate regarding new taxes of any kind. Speaking of new taxes, the capital gains tax bill now heads to the House. It passed out of the state Senate by 1 vote this weekend after a 4-hour debate. This bill has changed significantly since it was first introduced. The version that passed Saturday applies a tax on the sale of stocks, bonds, personal property, and businesses if profits exceed $250,000. The Chamber will continue to advocate against this bill that could send businesses to nearby states such as Idaho that don't have an income tax. And it may lead to a broader income tax across the state. With the success of Phase 2, businesses are starting to ask about next steps of phase advancement. Last week, the Republicans introduced their reopening proposal, Open Safe, Open Now, which aims to have the state return to 100% capacity for all activities, including schools and businesses, within the next month. Washington Health Secretary expressed his concerns by saying, "We do not believe this is the time to go aggressively with reopening." The Chamber met with the governor's top policy advisors last week and will continue our deliberate and collaborative advocacy for a safe reopening as case rates decline and vaccinations increase. There is some potential good news for the housing and construction industry, as Senate Bill 5287 establishes a new 20-year tax exemption for newly built permanent affordable homes. It passed out of the Senate last week and now moves on to the House. Last week, there was a public hearing on Senate Bill 5373, a new carbon pollution tax, which places a tax on all fuels except electricity. The proposed tax will cost $25 for every metric ton of equivalent greenhouse gas emission. The revenue from this tax will fund a laundry list of environmental projects and equity initiatives and recovery programs. Combined with the new low-carbon fuel standard and cap and trade, let's stop to consider the outcomes if all 3 of these bills pass. We will see a huge increase in the price of energy, economic fallout from the collective fiscal impact on the affected industries, and none of the new revenue is designated towards transportation. This week, the Chamber will lobby hard for Representative Binke's Building Economic Strength Through Manufacturing Act. It needs to get pulled out of committee for a floor vote and over the finish line. It's already passed out of 2 House committees unanimously and is primed for success in the Senate. The goal of House Bill 1170 is threefold: to double the number of manufacturing jobs in 10 years, to double the number of manufacturing firms in our state in 10 years, and lastly, to double the number of women-owned and minority-owned manufacturing firms. The Chamber agrees that this simple yet impactful legislation will have a positive impact on manufacturing in the Tri, as well as the entire state. We saw movement on some landlord-tenant legislation in Second Substitute Senate Bill 5160. It's an act to provide tenants legal representation during the eviction process and authorizes landlord access to state rental assistance programs. It saw action as it passed out of the Senate and now heads to the House for consideration. Now let's talk action in ag legislation and revisit the ag bill that prohibits courts from awarding retroactive overtime pay. The Chamber supports this original bill, but we're concerned that the engrossed substitute version doesn't provide the needed protection for our local farmers. Substitute Senate Bill 5396 offers a tax incentive for building farm worker housing, but the incentive is nullified if the housing is used for H-2A workers. So, farmers will now have to ensure there is at least one local worker living in every housing unit on their farm for 5 years. The Chamber supports incentives for farm worker housing, but the regulations in this legislation are overburdensome. And finally, let's look at House Bill 1434. It was a mental health bill specifically for workers in the ag industry, which was born of the increased strain on ag workers' mental health during COVID. This bill didn't make it out of the committee alive, but it's now showing up in the language of a broader bill. Like Patrick Swayze to Whoopi Goldberg, 1434 is still alive in House Bill 1477. It's a mental health hotline bill with specific routing for ag workers in crisis. Because agriculture is so central to the local economy and sustainability of our region, the Chamber strongly advocates legislation that will elevate the region as a global epicenter of agricultural advancement. Now some event news for Tri-Citians in the 8th Legislative District. Your legislators plan to hold a virtual town hall on Saturday, March 20th at 2 p.m. and would like to invite everyone to attend. You do need to register to participate in this event. You can do so by clicking on the link in the description. If you'd like to submit a question before the event, there is a place to submit it on the registration form. As we head into the 9th week of session, the Tri-City Regional Chamber will continue to be your voice for business and help keep you informed and connected. If you have any information on business-related bills you'd like to suggest for inclusion in next week's session spotlight, let me know. Thanks again for watching, and have a great week.